Morning, Elle Ingalls here at pressure-free.com. We're going to talk about binging and shame this morning. Uh, it was the holidays, and a lot of people ate a lot of things that they're now regretting, or drank a lot of things they're now regretting, or maybe pushing that next episode button over and over. And it's interesting to understand, why are we so unable to control our actions when we're in some social situations or we've come to the end of the day. You seem to have a lack of willpower. Maybe you experience that. So I want to explain that a little bit in pressure-free context that I find so interesting. Uh, when we trigger that fight or flight stress response, there are a couple areas in the brain responsible for willpower. There's two main ones, and then there's kind of a third one very close to the amygdala. And when we are in that state where that first rush of catecholamine hormones is happening, so that's adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. Dopamine coming from the adrenal glands as a hormone, not the dopamine in our brain as a neurotransmitter. So when that floods our system, our cortex depowers somewhat, our outer brain and our hippocampus. And that's why, we forget things, we can't remember names. But that willpower is really interesting to take a look at. So that's why you might get to the end of your day and you're exhausted and you're tired and you have just no willpower to go work out, no willpower to say no to certain foods or drinks while you're having your evening meal. Like you say, oh, I'm only going to have one glass of wine, but it turns out to be two or even three. Or, you're looking for comfort food too. If you feel yourself like really looking for comfort food, um, we want to feel better. So once we've triggered the stress response, especially after that adrenaline flood has kind of done its thing, we're in a state where we just want to feel better. So that's why it can be so hard to not entertain ourselves. You say you're going to do something else in the evening and you end up just couch potato clicking away. Um, and that's kind of been like the natural way that a lot of people do their evenings. And I clearly remember when one of my clients, I had coached her in pressure free, and a couple of years later, I was driving through her city, and I asked if she would like to meet for lunch, and we got together, and she told me this story that really illustrated one of the real benefits of stopping the release of those hormones and living pressure free. She said that she had had a full day of work. She was working about 40 minutes from home, got home, had a nice meal, and noticed that there was a concert in another city, not too far away, um, that she really wanted to go to. So she called up her friend who was not particularly busy in her day, and but did do some things. And she said, "Hey, would you like to go to this concert with me?" And her friend was like, "Oh, I'm so exhausted. No, I can't go. I can't go tonight." So she took herself. She went by herself. But as she was driving, she thought, "My ability to do things in the evening has definitely changed." So even after a full day of work, she still has energy. Another one of my clients, very similarly, she said that she gained like 3.5 hours of productive time in the evenings, whereas before she would just be done. When you kind of say to yourself, "I'm just done for the night." She's like, "No, I had energy till like 11:30 at night. Like I'm not tired." And so one of the reasons that is there's a brain reason for it, but also a physical reason for it. Our body gets exhausted because it's having to deal with all this stress sludge, as my sons call it, stress sludge. So the release of these hormones, your body is working on dissipating those hormones after they've released into your cells. And so it's a lot of work for the body. So that's why our digestive system shuts down during that time when we're in fight or flight, because we need to be dealing with all these stress hormones and protecting ourselves. So it's exhausting. The exhaustion isn't because of what you've done all day, unless you work on a farm or a construction worker, like you're physically working with your body. It's emotional exhaustion and inner physical exhaustion, if that makes sense. So having beautiful, productive time at night so you can have fun with your family or your pets, whomever you live with. Go for a super nice long walk with your dog or a run or go out for the evening. Um, you'll see people that seem to have this boundless energy and they can do all these things, and you wonder, like, why can't I? Well, one of the biggest reasons why we can't is that we've exhausted ourselves with this biopsychology. Um, that's what I think of the stress response as. It's biopsychology. It's our biology informing us, our psychology. And the other thing is when we don't have that willpower, when we feel like we've hit the wall, we actually have more energy too at times, but our brain doesn't think so. We think we're done because this isn't really functioning very well. So that's another thing that I've noticed with people is that let's keep the lights on. I call it let's keep the lights on. So that's the tool I want to share today. I want to share a tool. I thought I was only going to share a tool on Tuesdays for this series of videos, but I just can't help it. I want to share a tool with you. I want to get you going so that you have some momentum with pressure-free living. If you really want to go deep, we need to work together, or you can take my online course, but I'll just shoot out some tools here for you. This one is called Flip the Switch. It's as if there's a light switch on the side of your head. And when we release that flood of hormones from our adrenal glands, the switch is like it's going down. This is turning off. And so we want to keep these lights on, okay? So it's a physical motion, just like I think yesterday I did swim for you. Or a couple days ago, like swim is a motion. This is a motion. So it's like turning on the lights. However you want to flip that switch up. Use your finger, use your hand. But it's a motion that you don't usually do. I don't think you walk around all day going like this. So it's a motion on purpose that opens up neural pathways so that you can more quickly change a habit. And then when you to keep these lights on, again, you can use a phrase. You can use a question. So questions are great. Your brain loves questions. So it could be like, how can I have more energy right now? How can I do this easily? How can I have a beautiful evening? If you find yourself having kind of more depressing evenings, just exhausted, not feeling good, when you start to you'll start to make an assumption, like you'll actually create a subconscious pattern that I do my work and then I'm so exhausted it's just like Calgon, take me away. Like you just got a couch potato it. So you start to make that assumption. We need to break that assumption. So flip the switch is one of the fastest ways I know to do that, again because there's emotion involved. And then when you ask yourself that question, like, how can I have a really fun evening? How can I have a beautiful night? How can I have energy to have time with my family or time with my pet, time with friends? A lot of times you might hear yourself saying, no, I just can't go out tonight. I'm too tired. So, and I think the pandemic and the shutdown really changed us too. Like we stopped going out. We stopped interacting with people. And so you may have gotten, it only takes, a certain number of days and you fall into a pattern of not going out, like not being with friends. You may have noticed that too. And so it's like, okay, what do I want to do? And where do I want to go? And what would I like to experience? Asking some of those questions of yourself. One of the secrets when you ask these empowering questions is to not push the answer. Don't force answers to come up or like be desperate for the answers. Notice I even made my hand tight. Like if you feel a tightness, what we want is the opposite. We want an openness. So when you ask that question, like have an open face, not a stern face or RBF, right? Have an open face, have an open body, and flip that switch and say, okay, so how can I have a beautiful night tonight? What do I get to do with friends tonight? So you ask the question, maybe it's not tonight, but suddenly some ideas come up, or you start finding events that's like, wow, That would be really fun to go to. And you just open up your ability to be able to do more things. Again, I know for me, the shutdown really affected me. Plus, I moved in my old town. Almost every night I was doing something. I was somewhere so in Battle Creek, Michigan, like out or Marshall or, just going to plays and concerts and teaching and speaking. And I was just out a lot, playing with my kids, doing stuff with my family. Very spontaneous. I want to end this with kind of a fun thing. I was on a podcast, I was being interviewed on a podcast, and the interviewer asked me, "Do you have a family motto?" And I was like, "Oh, do we have a family motto?" And then I recalled time with my youngest son. We were driving from Michigan to Boston, and it was the first time after the pandemic we could go through Canada. And so we were going through Hamilton and Ontario across Niagara Falls. So we're taking the Rainbow Bridge and he goes, "Hey, do you want to stop on the Canadian side?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we stopped and we took a look at the falls, kind of jogged along, looked a little bit, and got back in the car. We drive over the bridge and then he goes, "Do you want to stop on the US side?" I go, "Yeah, let's do it." So we stopped. And by the way, we had a time constraint. He was running the Boston Marathon and he had to get to Boston to get his bib. I think that was what going. And he also was doing something for Harvard. Like he had things he had to do. But it's like, let's stop. So we stopped and then take a look at the falls. And then he goes, "Okay, so there's a parapet. You can go up through an elevator. You pay and you can get up and you can see the falls even better." And he goes, "Do you want to go do that?" The only thing we didn't do was Maid of the Mist, where you go down in the boat with the little what do you call it? Those plastic things over you so you don't get all wet. Um, we didn't do that, but we did everything else, right? And we got in the car and he said, "Who was it? Was it you or Dad that would say, let's do one more thing?" And I thought, oh my gosh, that's our family motto, especially when it comes to fun, but also in business. I watch it with my kids with their business. I watch it with my own business. It's like, what's the one more thing that we can do? And I'm like, at first I thought it was my husband, but it's both of us. It's like we'd be driving back from New Hampshire to Michigan, where I'm from. I'm from New Hampshire originally. And we'd pass Toronto. There's this beautiful beach north. You got to go north. So you're going to go off the beaten path to Ipperwash. And I would say it's an Ipperwash day. And we'd go off the highway, go up to Ipperwash, go for another swim, or we'd cross the bridge at Port Huron and go up to the beach in Port Huron and take another swim before we get home. That's the one more thing. So I think that when you're not in a stressed mode, you can add things to your day, to your evening, that are really fulfilling in life. I'll never forget that time with my son in Niagara Falls. Like it was just incredible. We had so much fun. And we did it again when we were on vacation once. Like everybody else that we were down in Florida with, they were all packing it in, and we're like, "No, what's the one more thing?" So I'll leave you with that. Flip the switch. It's a really great little tool. And also I didn't really get into the shame part, but when you do binge, if you do like eat that like two, three more cookies or open a couple more bottles of beer or pour more wine, whatever that is, just watch that you don't beat yourself up because shaming feelings can trigger the stress response. So you'll want to be gentle with yourself if you notice some of that behavior and realize that this biopsychology of your brain is making it hard for you to not do it. But once that realization opens up for you, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So if you want to meet with me, go ahead and I'm doing all kinds of things. Go to my website, lingalls.com, hit retreats. You'll see what's going on there. Lots of things in 2026. And I wish you a great pressure-free day.